you ever had to convince your kids to eat their vegetables? Have you ever had to convince your husband or life partner to go to gym to remain fit and healthy? Have you ever had to convince your boss for your promotion? If your answer is yes, then you are involved in what is called an advanced communication. It's not just a simple communication, but it is called persuasion. Now the question isn't that are you going to use persuasion in your lifetime? The question is how good you are in persuading people. Now people run away from persuasion because they have some negative association regarding persuasion. They think that persuading means manipulating. There is a difference between persuading and manipulating. When you are involved in persuasion, it means that you are trying to convince a person to do something that he wouldn't do ordinarily that would benefit both you and him. But manipulation means when you try to convince someone to do something that he wouldn't do ordinarily that will only benefit you. Now in persuasion, your message is taken wrongly by the other person. That's why your intentions are being wrongly interpreted. And that is why you don't get the result. Your way of communication and your mode of communication is not so effective that is able to persuade the other person. Now, to be an effective communicator, NLP is one of the tools. After learning NLP, you can become an effective communicator. As an effective communicator, before approaching anyone or before passing your message to any person, you would certainly keep certain points in your mind. You will first know who is the person with whom you are going to communicate. What is the age, gender, status, profession, background of that person to whom you are going to communicate. And accordingly, you will speak out. Second point you will keep in mind is, you will study the person first. At present, what is the situation he or she is in? What is the mood of that person? What is the time? Is the time appropriate to try to convince or persuade? Sometimes, due to wrong time, your message is taken wrongly. That person might be in a bad mood and you suddenly try to persuade him for something and he or she will just reject before trying to listen or before trying to understand what you are trying to say. So before communicating, try to understand that person's state of mind. Try to read his body language, physiology and submodalities. A person may not just communicate with words. He is also communicating with his body language, with his posture, way of sitting or standing, and his physiologies and submodalities. The next point you will keep in mind is, you will choose your own words before speaking. You will not just speak out your mind. You will choose your words carefully because you will take care of what words might trigger the other person. What words might hurt that other person's ego. What words might be misinterpreted. You may avoid using words having double meaning. Carefully chosen words often create an effective impression on the other person, because after you have finished speaking, still your words are repeated in other person's mind. So be careful in choosing your words before communicating. The next point you will take care of if you are an effective communicator is, you will first know what can be the consequences of the communication that's going to happen. You may also discuss the intentions behind your communication so that your intentions are not misinterpreted. The reason is, parents don't communicate completely. They don't communicate what are their intentions and what are the consequences of not following their instructions and following their instructions. Both the sides of the coin should be discussed with the kids. The next point you will keep in mind as an effective communicator is, you will have patience for the feedback. Keeping patience for feedback or for the response from the other person is very essential. If you ask for immediate response, you might get a negative response. Often a person takes time to digest whatever you have told them or communicated with them. If you ask for immediate feedback, that might be negative, because a person chooses to immediately send negative feedback because it may not cause any risk to them. But instead, if they instantly give positive response, they may be in the trap. That's what is in their mind. Keeping in mind this point, you have to keep patience. And last benefit of an effective communicator is you will never regret or doubt your own communication. After communicating, you will not rethink about the words that you have spoken. You will not rethink about the other options that you might have used. Next point you will keep in mind is what mode of communication to choose. It often depends on the other person, that through which channel of communication he is more receptive, through what way he will take the message positively, and he is more prone to accept the message, either through speaking, either through phone calls, or through writing, or through some other modes. It's not your convenience that will decide the mode of communication. It's what is the other person's receptive mode that will decide, and you have to be ready to communicate with all kinds of modes of communication. These were the certain points that an effective communicator will keep in mind before trying to persuade someone, before trying to make your message reach someone, when you are trying to help them. Even if you are trying to help someone, you have to be very clear regarding how you are interpreted. And to persuade someone for their own benefit also, you need to be very careful. That's all for today, friends. Thank you and have a good day.